And assuming that the national curriculum is not infinitely expandable, if you do think it's a good idea, what would you drop?
Well, I wouldn't have to drop it, because what you're talking about is actually teaching youngsters how to learn rather than just to absorb. You're teaching them what we ought to teach at a very early age, and we don't even teach at university, although they do much more in the United States, which is to actually give people the empowerment to be able to explore for themselves. Now, clearly you need to encourage an inquiring mind. People aren't going to explore other than the influences of those immediately around them, which is another issue, unless you give them an inquiring mind and you give them the tools to do so. The better schools, the better teachers do that, because they're opening up thinking skills and they're giving them the technical skills to be able to do it. The worst schools are those, and a lot of them exist in the independent sector in London, Peter, are those who actually set their young pupils homework, which is entirely down to the parents to do, which is, so they don't have a real experience of going out in the neighbourhood or the park or exploring something. They are encouraged to draw down from the internet the pictures to paste on. Now, that isn't education. That is jumping through hoops. So we've got to do it properly if it's to be liberating, rather than it's to be a complete con job where, a 6-year-old takes in a nice little pamphlet of 6 or 8 pages about Africa that his mum's downloaded off the internet.
And briefly from you two, yeah.
I think it's a very subtle problem, this, because I don't think it's, if we go back to text literacy, it's not a problem about penmanship. It's not how well people write, or do they know what a pen is. It's a problem about literacy. It's a problem about grammar and the ability to construct meaning and the ability to tell stories and the ability to sift information for relevance. It's not about penmanship. It's about penmanship for a different generation of people who didn't grow up with these pens. And let's not confuse the two things. So the last people who need a curriculum for IT skills are children in schools. What they need is to understand that the 70% of them by an Ofcom piece of research who think that Google is true need to understand that that is not the case. That Google ranks results by popularity and commercial benefit. It does not rank results by independence, authority, any notion of impartiality. It's not what it's for. Wasn't asked to do it, doesn't do it. So you're actually sitting 2 away from the Ofcom media literacy team, who are just next to you. Hello, Robin. We've got to get past the sort of Dacre-ish notion that media literacy is some kind of faddy new university sort of thing. Media literacy is a core skill, and it is something that should be within subjects. It's something that should be within our lives, in the same way that textual literacy is. We've got to get it past this sort of, it's media studies and people who are messing around thinking about the films of, Jacques Tati. It's not. It's a fundamental set of skills that you require to operate as a thinking human being at this time. And if we can get there, we've got a cat in hell's chance of competing globally with countries that do this.
But is it any different to teaching youngsters how to use a library effectively? It's a bigger library, it's a world library, but it's the same skill, isn't it?
I think where the difference comes, and really good points that you both made, the difference comes that yes, as teachers, we have to help people find pathways to understanding and reflection and so on. But actually, kids, students know more than we do. So we have the chance for a really exciting start of kind of learning together. And if you're talking about the sort of whiz-bangs of how to do things, the kids know how to do it. Who gets the 3-year-old to program their video or whatever? I certainly do. The kids know how to do things. So I think there's a whole, again, this power relationships, a whole way of rethinking about this. And I would agree with Anthony, the last thing we want to do is to say, this is how you do it, because we'll be telling them things that are already out of date for them.